So what is the spiritual growth? As I said, we are multidimensional beings, so it's not only spiritual experience we're having, but also emotional, cognitive, and physical in this realm of life, which we call Earth. And your spiritual growth is nothing more but part of this self-realization, self-development. Okay. So it's not necessarily a big deal, but it's definitely something that's coming your way. It's definitely something that you will be experiencing in your life. Other people, they call it spiritual maturation, sanctification, like becoming holy, enlightenment, awakening. There is a different jargon around it, but generally it pertains to the fact that you are acutely aware that you have spiritual aspects of yourself. And depending from what theory or what religion or what culture you're coming from, you might call it a soul, spirit, or soul and spirit altogether. So in Islamic teachings, in Islamic theology, we're actually experiencing 3 or maybe even 4 different aspects of our spiritual life, which is spiritual heart, qalb, ruh, which is spirit, soul, nafs, and then we also have fitra, which is that natural inclination to look for meanings, to look for connections with your creator. So depending from where you're coming from, all those aspects that will come to your awareness. And they will come to your awareness if you make that decision to improve yourself, if you invest in yourself. Spiritual awakening is just part of your growth. And you will get to that point when you realize that there's more to you than just body, than just physical or maybe cognitive aspect, because you will invest, or you maybe already are investing time in reading books, contemplating on biographies of spiritual leaders or prophets. You're contemplating a lot on yourself, on your life. You're studying holy scriptures. You are practicing different rituals, be it meditation, contemplation, breathing, prayers, fasting. You might even ground yourself, like connect with nature. You might be quite active traveler or sportsman or sportswoman, and you also might go on the path of medication. So the less probably advisable would be to go into hallucinogenic medications. However, it is accepted practice in many cultures. I'm talking about ayahuasca. That's probably the most popular at the moment. But previously, 50s, 60s, 70s, it was LSD. Right now, I think it's very popular for people to glorify the use and effect of marijuana. So whatever you do on the path of self-understanding or self-care, be it surrounding yourself with different types of people or investing your time in self-exploration, at some point you will experience that awakening that, oh my God, there's more to me than I thought. And then what you might be subjected to is the trap of spirituality. Meaning you tend to go into overinvestments of your time and energy in spirituality. So you neglect other aspects of your life. Well, you play the role of a father, of a mother, of a daughter, of a wife, of a husband, of a partner, and so forth. And suddenly that might become less of importance because you've experienced that brilliant lightness in you and light in you, which is the spiritual aspect of you. So you might be tempted to actually to actually invest or look into too deeply into feel good factor. And you might justify your actions with an idea that doing whatever is right for my soul is the only way to go. Meaning you start answering calls of your desires, and you think it's your soul. And from monotheistic point of view, the danger here is that you're actually idolizing yourself, idolizing part of yourself, which is soul, which is spirituality. Spirituality is an inevitable aspect of our experience, whether you're aware of it right now or not. That is just a fact. And the danger of people who are beginners on that journey is that they start worshipping their own soul. So how to recognize that moment when you're going wrong is that you have to take yourself into accountability, and you have to realize that you have to be very sure, be very strict with yourself, and answer the question: am I investing in spiritual highs? Am I keeping myself high? Or am I actually learning the lessons? Am I actually open to experience the spirituality for what it is, which is just lessons? And the lessons, and I will talk about it in great details, more details, at the end of this presentations, that surrender and humility. If you find yourself judgmental or condescending, meaning you're starting from the position of I know better, look at you, look how you're behaving, look how you're doing, look at me, how much I evolved, then you're going the wrong way. If you start being suspicious of others, and that happens because people will start comment on your changes, and instead of you listening to them, how you're being perceived, taking yourself into accountability, you might actually isolate yourself further and think that they actually against you, they actually after you, they actually stopping you from those spiritual highs. Yeah, there is another trap for beginners in the spiritual growth, meaning they start interacting with unseen. So by unseen, I mean in Arabic we call them jinns, angels, malikat, and in non-Arabic, we're probably thinking about mediums, those people who communicating with others. And now, depending on which school you're coming from, but if you're coming back from monotheistic point of view, orthodox or pure monotheistic point of view, you'll be very much aware that this is part of your belief system. As I said, spirituality, the life of souls, the life of unseen is the reality. It's just we have to travel quite a while to understand that, to connect with that. But it's not our job, and it's not their job actually to communicate with us. We have different purpose of life here. So if you are coming from monotheistic point of view, it will probably make sense to you to, well, when I say that communicating with unseen or using them to create your new career is actually a wrong way to go in spirituality. Spirituality is here to teach you lessons, it's here to make you a better person, it's here to grow, get you closer to create, get you closer to your purpose of life. All right, so this going astray, if you like, what I've just described, what I've just listed here for you, could be called spiritual bypassing. Yeah, so that is the danger of not knowing what spiritual growth should be about. However, there are benefits of spiritual growth as well. So if you're doing it correctly, how can you recognize that you're doing correctly, you're going correctly through this journey? Is that you're suddenly experiencing crystallization of your thoughts, of your experiences. You finally know what this life is about. You finally know, you're finding your place. You finally know how to relate to others in a less emotional or less traumatic sense. of that meaning, you centralizing yourself, but again from the position of humility, not haughtiness. You're connecting with the creating force. You're connecting with God. Yeah, you're connecting with your creator. So please understand the difference. If you're doing the spirituality wrong way, you are thinking of yourself almost that you are God. Yeah, you're making from your soul your own creator. Whereas if you're doing it correctly, you understand that the soul is created by a creator, just like your body, like your mental capacity, emotional capacity, and so forth. Okay. Now, if you're doing spirituality correctly as well, you suddenly might find yourself connected to the nature, listening to the sounds of nature, being in the nature. You know, you might find yourself even opening the windows in your house more often because you want to feel the flow of the air in your house. Simple examples like that. Or you might find yourself great passionate of sports, outdoor sports, or you might find yourself a traveler, and you can't explain why it's so addictive to you. Well, that's why. Now, you also, if you're doing the spiritual journey correctly, and you're embracing humility, surrender, you are actually working very hard on modeling your ego. In Arabic terms, we call it nafs. Right? So you're detaching yourself from your ego, meaning you stop answering to its desires, and you're actually feeding your soul. Ego is part of you as well, so you're feeding your ego with things which are actually beneficial. So sometimes it is about restriction, or sometimes it's about enhancing your ego with a knowledge of practices that it wasn't aware of. Now, I need to come back to ego in a minute. So please remember that aspect, that your ego should be, you should detach yourself from the vain inclinations of your ego. Right? Now, if you're doing spiritually correctly, your relationships will change. You start accepting people for what they are, for who they are, for what they do, for what they don't do. You forgive them for their drawbacks. You forgive them for the hurts that they committed against you, and you empathize with them. You suddenly understand where they're coming from, and that journey is only that state is only possible because you've been on the journey of forgiving, empathizing, and accepting who you are. So in other words, you get to the point on your spiritual journey when you understand you can't give what you don't have inside. Yeah. So that inner peace and acceptance of this experience of your life here in this reality is another stage, another sign that you're doing this spiritual journey correctly. And you surrender yourself. You let go and control. You understand that actually you are in hands of something higher, something wiser, something stronger than you. Yeah. So who wouldn't like to be in that state of being, state of mind, state of feeling, state of spirituality? Obviously, everyone. It sounds very, very tempting,